On the day of my wedding, my husband's family forced me to kneel in the courtyard before a crowd of guests for 4 hours, saying it was to curb my unruly nature. Only after I had knelt enough would I be deemed worthy to enter their household. My body was frail, unable to endure. At last, I struck my head against the ground and died. Then, I was reborn. Father, bring the dowry back. We are going home. When I heard that familiar voice beside me, I knew I had returned to life. The scene was exactly the same as just hours before, which I had only just experienced. I never thought I would have to live this wretched moment twice. It was the custom of their house, they said, that any new bride must kneel in the courtyard for no less than 4 hours. Only then would she be worthy to set foot in the Jiang family's home. Through the red bridal veil, I could picture Jiang mother's spiteful, vicious face clearly. This rule was never mentioned when the marriage was negotiated. Only when I arrived did she invent this humiliation on purpose. In my past life, because I loved Jiang Cheng, I swallowed my pride, afraid to create a scandal, and obediently knelt. The sun blazed overhead, scorching. All the guests sat in the shade, drinking tea, chatting idly, watching me be degraded and laughing among themselves. Truly, they said, Madame Jiang has raised her son well. A bride must be taught her place the moment she arrives, so she will not dare to rise above her station and make trouble. Basking in their praise, Jiang mother grew more pleased, striking me with a cane. Kneel straight. Keep your back upright and your hands where they belong. Displease me, and I'll have my son divorce you at once. And so, I knelt for the full 4 hours, until my strength failed. I fainted, my head hitting the carpet. In this life, I would never be so foolish again. Rage burned in my chest. With a single motion, I tore the bridal veil from my head. This broken door of yours, I don't need to enter. Jiang mother's face turned ashen. Rebellion. Jiang Cheng, look at the woman you've brought home. I warned you, merchants' daughters are crude and unrefined, unfit to marry. She hasn't even crossed the threshold, yet she dares defy me. Jiang Cheng's expression darkened. He hissed under his breath. What are you doing? Lifting your veil yourself. Where is your propriety? How dare you talk back to my mother and disgrace us all? Hurry and apologize. I let out a cold, contemptuous laugh. All the resentment of 2 lifetimes surged into my palm. With a resounding crack, I slapped his face. This worthless man, when his wife was humiliated, he did nothing to defend her. He only ever followed that old hag in tormenting me. In my past life, I must have been blind to insist on marrying him. Jiang Cheng's father had once been a licentiate, respected in town. But he had died years ago. Jiang Cheng had no scholarly title. Just a man who read books without ever passing the exams. Every year, he took the imperial test. And every year, he failed. Yet he and his mother still wrapped themselves in the tattered rags of former prestige, pretending they belonged to some illustrious clan. I knew they looked down on my family, despising my father for being a butcher. Blinded by lard, I was bewitched by Jiang Cheng's pretended refinement. I forced my father to send over a lavish dowry, before Jiang Cheng reluctantly agreed to marry me. But the truth is plain. A melon plucked by force is never sweet. It can only end in ruin. When Jiang mother saw her son struck, she shrieked like a rabid dog and lunged at me. Stay back, I warned. I have a temper. She did not heed me, so she could not blame me for what happened next. I had worked beside my father since childhood. My strength surpassed most women's. With a shove, I sent her sprawling on the ground, limbs flailing like a turtle flipped on its shell. I told you, I said my temper is foul. Jiang mother lay there, wailing miserably. The Jiang relatives began to scold me, calling me a shrew, unworthy of entering their house. As if I cared. Father, bring the dowry. We are going home. Jiang mother panicked, no longer weeping. She scrambled upright to block our way. No, no one is taking anything. These things belong to our family. My father said they were gifts for my future husband, not for you to seize. After Jiang father died, the household survived only by Jiang mother's schemes. She forbade Jiang Cheng from seeking honest work, insisting her son was destined to be a great official. Jiang Cheng, who ought to have been the pillar of the family, lived instead as a leech. Of course, they had no wish to return the generous dowry. My mother died young. My father was a coarse man, but he cherished me like a precious jewel. He could not bear to see me suffer, so he poured nearly all his wealth into my dowry. Jiang Cheng, Jiang mother shrieked. Say something. Jiang Cheng, priding himself as a scholar, still cared for appearances. Though he coveted our wealth, he would not show it too brazenly. His face flushed red. He glared at me. Gusu, how long do you intend to make a scene? Now that you've broken the betrothal, who would dare marry you? He thought to threaten me with my reputation. He believed that if I was cast off, my name would be stained forever, and I would be unfit to wed. But I no longer cared. Better alone than bound to this wretched man. At last, my father could bear no more. His voice thundered. What did you say? My daughter. Who would not marry her? Even if she never weds. I will feed and clothe her all her days. He had endured every humiliation for my sake. When I declared I wished to marry Jiang Cheng, they had demanded endless concessions. My father had swallowed every insult, gritted his teeth, and paid every demand, just to make me happy. Now that he saw I had come to my senses, he was the first to stand by me. I looked coldly at Jiang Cheng. Once, you scorned me as reeking of money. Now you would steal every coin I have. I looked him straight in the eye and asked, Tell me, do you not feel ashamed? Jiang Cheng's face turned pale, then flushed crimson, veins swelling red in his eyes with rage. Daughter, my father barked, no need to waste breath on this lot. Take everything and go. At his command, my relatives surged forward without hesitation, hauling every piece of the dowry back home. When we returned, I sorted through all of it, carefully checking each item. But I soon discovered several things were missing. A white jade guanine statue and a chest of EC pearls. So this is what the Jiang family was, stealing my dowry before the marriage was even sealed. Did they think I would leave it be? I gathered my people and marched straight back to the Jiang house. Jiang family, return my dowry at once. Jiang Cheng's face darkened to an ugly shade. You've already taken everything. Why come back? Why? I curled my lip in a cold smile. To retrieve the white jade guanine and the chest of pearls your household helped itself to. Taking what was never offered. That is theft. Your entire family are nothing but thieves. Jiang mother's face turned purple. She shrieked. We didn't take anything of yours. Perhaps your own kin stole it behind your back. Her shifty gaze was impossible to miss. Then don't blame me if I searched the house myself. Like my father, I had a temper hot as fire. And if I could act, I never wasted words. They would never admit their guilt, so why should I argue? Neither mother nor son could stop me as my people fanned out to search each room. At last, in Jiang mother's chamber, we found the white jade guanine. Miss, there is one more room locked, untouched, my attendant reported. I remembered then. It belonged to Jiang Cheng's distant cousin, Tong Ling. Anyone with eyes could see Tong Ling harbored feelings for Jiang Cheng. Though Jiang mother looked down on her as an orphan, she relished the feeling of being served like some grand matron. So she pretended not to notice. Tong Ling was the perfect fragile beauty. One tremble of her lashes, and she looked ready to weep. Her voice quivered, soft as a sigh. Miss Gu, I swear, I never took your pearls. She was used to this pitiful act to win Jiang Cheng's sympathy. But it did nothing to move me. We'll see soon enough, I said coolly. If you have nothing to hide, you have nothing to fear. Jiang Cheng stepped in front of her, arms outspread protectively, as though shielding a priceless treasure. Absurd. This is a young woman's private chamber. No man may barge in uninvited. Looking at him then, I realized. He had probably been entangled with Tong Ling for far longer than I'd guessed. How blind I had been. I met his gaze squarely, unflinching. Have you forgotten? This entire house was built by my father. His family once lived in a few shabby thatched huts. This fine house had been prepared by my father as a bridal home. They had simply moved in, shameless as ever. Tong Ling pressed her sleeve to her cheek, eyes shimmering with tears. Miss Gu, please don't quarrel with cousin on my account. It was wrong of me to stay here, offending your eyes. But I am a chaste woman. If strange men enter my chamber, how can I ever marry? As she spoke, fat tears slid down her cheeks. Jiang Cheng snapped. Gusu, you go too far. I rolled my eyes, bored. Who said anything to her? She was crying on her own. I couldn't care less. Enough dithering, search the room, I ordered. Tong Ling shrieked, lunging to block us. But Jiang Cheng caught her by the arm. Don't. Careful you don't hurt yourself. No doubt he thought she was worried for her maidenly virtue. In truth, she was terrified we'd find the evidence. When the chest of pearls emerged from her room, Jiang mother's face went black as ink. She had always counted my dowry as already hers. To see Tong Ling dare steal it before her eyes. It was like a hand reaching straight into her purse. How could she bear it? You shameless creature. She shrieked. Our family took you in, and this is how you repay us. Tong Ling frantically shook her head, tears streaming. No, it wasn't me. I don't know why they were in my room. Perhaps Jiang Cheng might be fooled. But no one else believed her. I had no interest in watching them squabble. I only wished to be done with this and return home for a meal. You will all pack your belongings and leave this house now. Jiang mother screeched. I will not. This is my home. The house was part of the dowry you gave us. I arched a brow and smiled thinly. Shall I summon the magistrate to settle this? Very well. But I wonder, will you bear the shame of it? To be exposed as thieves before the officials. They would never lift their heads again. Jiang mother howled in fury, thrashing on the ground. But I had no patience left. I signaled my servants to help them pack. The Jiang family staggered out, cursing under their breath, arms laden with bundles, returning to the dilapidated shacks they called home. I followed them partway, unable to stop a laugh. Jiang mother and Tong Ling tottered under their burdens, while Jiang Cheng, ever the self-styled scholar, carried the least, still trying to maintain his lofty airs. Jiang mother turned to shriek. Are you going to let your cousin carry everything? Are those hands of yours too fine to work? What use are you? Tong Ling had no choice but to accept the load, swaying under the weight until she nearly fell. A ridiculous family indeed. Thank heaven I had not married into it. Returning home, I slept the soundest sleep I'd had in years. But I had barely rested when the constables came pounding at my door. Jiang mother had reported me to the authorities, claiming I had stolen their ancestral heirloom. Honorable magistrate, please deliver justice. That was the only keepsake my late husband left me. Jiang mother sobbed and wailed before the magistrate, snot and tears streaming down her face, as if her husband had died again that very morning. Tong Ling clung to her side, crying in harmony. That woman had more tears than sense. Jiang Cheng stood stiffly behind them, arms folded, glaring at me with murderous fury. The magistrate spoke at last. Gu Su, did you take the Jiang family's heirloom jade? I smiled serenely, my voice calm and clear. Your Excellency, I am wronged. Though I am but a merchant's daughter, I possess principles. I would never stoop to theft. It was only a performance, and everyone knew how to act. She lies. Jiang mother shrieked. Days ago, she ransacked our home. Dozens saw it. No doubt she stole it then. Her family was poorer than dirt. And now she dared invent some priceless jade I'd supposedly stolen. It was almost funny. I raised an eyebrow and drawled. Is that so? Have you forgotten how you once starved for 3 days straight, fainting in the street from hunger? The entire town knows it. If this jade truly was so valuable, I said evenly, why did you not sell it then, to save yourselves from starving? Years ago, when Jiang mother doted on her son's feudal studies, she had saved all the rice for him, while she and Tong Ling survived on thin gruel. It had been the gossip of the entire town, a laughingstock for months. And not long after that, I, fool that I was, had begged my father to propose on my behalf. Only then did their household see any improvement. If we were speaking of debts, it was because of me that they still had the strength to prance around now. I should have slapped sense into myself back then. Jiang mother craned her neck, screeching. I kept it safe for my future daughter-in-law. How could I simply sell it off? If you don't wish to return it, then pay for it instead. So all this commotion had been nothing but a ploy to extort money. I curled my lip and looked at the magistrate. Your Excellency, as you know, my family has done well in trade. I hardly have any need to covet their meager possessions. And as for the Jiang family's poverty, it takes but a moment's inquiry to confirm. This so-called ancestral jade exists only in their imagination. The magistrate nodded gravely, and at once sent men to summon the Jiang family's neighbors. Jiang mother began to panic. Why call the neighbors? They all envy my son's great learning. They won't speak in our favor. Justice, the magistrate said, is not determined by one side's wording. He remained resolute. And soon, not only the neighbors, but also Jiang father's old acquaintances arrived to give testimony. One elderly man stepped forward. Never in my life have I heard of any heirloom jade in the Jiang family. They've farmed this land for generations. Only Jiang father ever passed the licentiate exams. How could there have been any treasure to pass down? Everyone here had lived in this town their whole lives. One had only to ask around to know each family's roots. Besides, Jiang Mother was a notorious braggart. If she'd ever owned such a priceless gem, she'd have flaunted it long ago. The matter could not have been clearer. The magistrate declared me innocent. Not only did Jiang Mother fail to wring any silver from me, she was scolded soundly, her face flushing dark red. She ignored Jiang Cheng's and Tong Ling's frantic attempts to restrain her. Lunging straight at me, hand raised to strike. But I was faster. I seized her wrist and twisted it behind her back. I had only meant to push her away, using barely any force. Yet she toppled to the floor, writhing and wailing. Help! Help! She struck me before the magistrate himself. Oh, my leg is broken. I'm dying. Jiang Cheng and Tong Ling scrambled to her side, kneeling with exaggerated concern. I had never seen them so filial. It was true that I'd laid hands on her, and right in front of the magistrate. There was no denying it. Is it truly so grave? I asked dryly. Very well, let me fetch a physician. The doctor arrived and examined her, declaring firmly that she had no serious injury. Yet she continued to wail and thrash about, pretending to be on the verge of death. Everyone could see through her farce, but there was little anyone could do against such shamelessness. You've hurt me, she shrieked. You must pay for my treatment, and care for me until I am well again. I let out a soft laugh. So this was her plan, to cling to me, to leech off me. Fine. I would see to her care, most attentively. The Jiang house was small, with the three of them occupying every livable room. There was nowhere left to confine me, save for the woodshed. Don't you dare run, Jiang Mother shrilled. If you do, I'll go straight to the magistrate. They truly thought they could humiliate me. How naive. I turned on my heel, walked to the neighboring house, and without hesitation paid a handsome sum to purchase it in full. Then, I ordered my men to tear down the shared wall. Jiang Mother shrieked hysterically. Heavens, my wall. You've ruined it. You must compensate us. That woman thought only of silver. No matter what I did, she'd find some excuse to demand payment. I demolished my own wall, I said calmly. What has that to do with you? Of course, since it was a shared wall, she could drag the matter out in court for years if she wished. Tong Ling tugged discreetly at Jiang Mother's sleeve, signaling her not to ruin everything over a trivial dispute. The real show was yet to begin. Jiang Mother began to moan about her injured leg, her frailty, how she needed nourishing remedies to recover. Very well. I would be generous. I would see to her care myself. I chose every tonic that was bitter, foul-smelling, and utterly revolting to drink. When the decoction was prepared, I carried it in with my own hands. Madame Jiang, I said sweetly, come, let me help you drink. I wore a gentle smile, leaving her no chance to refuse. I brought the bowl close. Before it even touched her lips, she retched violently. The stench was truly appalling. Even I had nearly lost last night's supper while brewing it. Eyes wide with horror, she shrieked. What is this? Get away. I will not drink it. She scrambled backward, voice cracking with panic. I smiled serenely. It is a special tonic. Just for you. Drink it, and you'll recover in no time. I will not. This is poison. She thrashed and clawed, knocking the bowl from my hands. I didn't bother to be angry. I simply told the maid, bring another. Don't worry. There's plenty more in the kitchen. As the next bowl arrived, I ordered the servants to hold her steady, forced her mouth open, and poured the medicine down her throat. When it was done, she lay collapsed on the bed, sobbing and cursing. You are the most vicious woman alive. You will come to no good end. I had already died once. Empty threats could not touch me. Her screams brought Jiang Cheng and Tong Ling running. What are you doing? Stop this at once. Jiang Cheng lunged forward, trying to seize my arm. I slipped aside, my voice soft and innocent. I am merely tending to your mother. Did you not say yourself, I reminded him sweetly, that once I entered this household, I must show her the utmost filial piety. Well, though I am no longer your wife, respecting my elders is still a virtue, is it not? Once, Jiang Cheng's favorite lecture to me had been how his poor mother had toiled to raise him to manhood. When he married, the most important condition of all was that the bride must be filial. Now I was only fulfilling his dearest wish. Jiang Mother screeched. She is forcing poison down my throat. Summon the magistrate. I laughed lightly. Do not slander me. This is a tonic prescribed by the largest apothecary in town. I even kept the physician's note. Indeed, I had chosen the most reputable pharmacy precisely for this reason. If she refused to drink, outsiders would only see her as ungrateful and petulant. Even if she brought the officials here again, my position was unassailable. I have said before, I told her calmly, if you wish for my service, you must have the fortune to endure it. Tong Ling, ever eager to please, waited until I had forced down the bitter draught, then tried to slip her a sweet to soothe her tongue. Jiang Mother brightened at once, praising her tenderly for her filial devotion. I watched the scene, then stepped over, plucked the candy from her hand, and tossed it out the door. The physician was clear. Sweets will ruin the medicine's effect. I narrowed my eyes, smiling without warmth. Tong Ling, are you deliberately hindering Madame Zhang's recovery? Everyone in town knew Jiang Mother was feigning illness, but she would never admit it, and Tong Ling dared not expose her. At last, she could only swallow her grievances in silence. Jiang Mother, determined to make trouble, declared there was no one to cook in the household, so I must prepare all 3 meals a day for her. She presented a list of demands. She must have meat every day, and there must be at least one rich dish at every meal. After all, she said smugly, your family butchers meat for a living. It should be no trouble to bring a few pork ribs or trotters to stew. I smiled obediently and agreed. But when the meal was served, the table held only plain porridge and pickled vegetables. Jiang Mother's face twisted in disgust. Did you not hear me? I said I must eat meat. Only then will I regain my strength. I beamed at her, voice gentle as ever. The physician advised that at your age, oily food is unwise. Too much fat will do you harm. It is best to eat simply. That convenient excuse of the physician's orders was too useful by half. No matter how she raged, she could never argue it away. I ignored them all, and leisurely picked up a piece of tender braised pork for myself. The aroma drifted across the table, making everyone swallow involuntarily. When Jiang Cheng reached out with his chopsticks to steal a piece, I flicked my wrist and knocked them aside. I am young and healthy. I may eat as I please. Your mother is ill, yet you sit here stuffing your face. You call yourself a scholar. Do you even remember how to write the word filial? Humiliation burned across his face. However much he craved meat, he dared not touch it again. The Jiang family was too poor to buy any themselves. Every day, I cleaned my plate, leaving not so much as a drop of broth behind. In just a few days, their faces grew sallow with hunger. Once, Jiang Mother would pretend each meal was beneath her dignity, picking at her food with an air of disdain. Lately, she devoured every scrap with relish. My leg troubles me, she whined one evening. Fetch a physician to examine it. Something in her tone made me wary. Outwardly, I agreed readily. The doctor examined her and found nothing serious. Continue the tonic, he advised, preparing to leave. But as he rose, Jiang Mother seized his sleeve. There is something I must ask you in private. Gusu, she said sweetly. Step outside a moment. I smiled thinly. No need. I would like to hear how I might help. This is family business, she snapped. You have no place in it. As if I cared. The doctor lingered with her for a while, then emerged, bowing quickly before departing. Tong Ling followed him out, claiming she needed to fetch more medicine. When she returned, she carried a large paper-wrapped parcel. Her eyes were red as she passed me, glaring with silent hatred. I frowned, puzzled. When I had a chance, I slipped out to the apothecary. Master Apothecary, I said with an easy smile. Madame Jiang asked me to collect more of her medicine. All her tonics were paid for by me. The apothecary knew me well, and handed over the packet without suspicion. I took it to another shop to have it examined. The second physician studied it carefully, then looked up with a troubled expression. This, he said quietly, is an aphrodisiac, milder than a love potion, but powerful enough to strip a person of reason. I needed no further guesses. Tong Ling had always yearned to crawl into Jiang Cheng's bed. It was hardly meant for her. Jiang Mother despised me, but she coveted my dowry more. If she forced me to marry her son, she could oppress me again and seize every coin I owned. Vile, filthy schemes. That evening, they treated me with a sickening warmth. Jiang Mother smiled, so sweetly it might have curdled milk, and Jiang Cheng kept pouring my cup. Only Tong Ling's eyes stayed cold as death. Jiang Cheng lifted his cup in forced camaraderie. Gusu, you have tended us with such care these past days. I know I was wrong before. This meal is my apology. Come, try some. Inside, I laughed. On my face, I remained calm, picking up my chopsticks. The drug's effects were swift. I had barely returned to my room before heat flooded my veins. But I was prepared. I swallowed the antidote I'd hidden. In the middle of the night, I heard the softest sound, someone creeping closer. At once, my eyes snapped open. So, they had finally come. Without hesitation, I clenched the wooden staff hidden under my quilt and brought it down hard on the shadow's head. When he collapsed, I kicked him savagely, again and again. Worthless wretch. All your books, and still you're no better than this. I seized his limp form, dragging it across the floor. I would leave him out in the cold where he belonged. But when I opened the door, I saw a figure standing in the shadows. Tong Ling. She looked as though she had been waiting there for a long time. You why? She stared, stunned, at me hauling Jiang Chung by the collar. I gave the body a contemptuous shove and smiled coldly. Let's make a bargain, shall we? This man, I said softly, nodding at Jiang Cheng's unconscious body. Tonight, I leave him to you. You know what must be done. My condition is simple. Tomorrow morning, I will bring witnesses to catch you in the act. For years, Tong Ling had borne her lot in silence, serving in the Jiang household like a drudge, never more than a servant in Jiang mother's eyes. But if tonight's events transpired, whether the Jiangs liked it or not, they would be forced to marry her into the family. It was a dangerous gamble. Her reputation would be tarnished. Yet it was also her only chance to secure a place as Jiang Cheng's wife. Whether she dared risk everything was a question only she could answer. Tong Ling bit her lip. For an instant, her eyes gleamed with cold determination. Very well, she whispered. The bargain is struck. Excellent, I murmured. I knew I had not misjudged you. At dawn, I went straight to the yamen, declaring that a thief had broken into my home. The Jiang household had seen so much scandal of late that the entire town was eager for more. A noisy crowd trailed behind me, clamoring to see the spectacle. When we reached the courtyard, Jiang mother stood frozen, speechless at the sight. Gusu, she barked at last. Why have you brought all these people? I folded my hands calmly. Madam Jiang, it is simple. Last night, a burglar crept into my room. Though I drove him off, he may still be hiding somewhere. So I came to report it to the magistrate. Since our houses are so close, we may as well search yours as well. Jiang mother's face turned waxy pale. No need. She stammered. No need at all. How could there be no need? I asked sweetly. This concerns human life. That's right. Someone in the crowd chimed in gleefully. Madam Jiang, Miss Gu is only thinking of your safety. A chorus of voices agreed, while Jiang mother looked ready to faint. Seizing the moment, I led the constables to search every room. One after another proved empty, until only Tong Ling's chamber remained. I knocked twice, calling out. No answer. Without hesitation, I pushed the door open. What greeted me inside made me laugh aloud. Garments lay scattered on the floor. Jiang Chung scrambled up from the bed, clutching at his clothes in a blind panic. Tong Ling cowered under the blankets, weeping in humiliated misery. Jiang mother shrieked. Don't look. Everyone out, get out. Some covered their eyes in feigned modesty, peeking between their fingers. Others burst into delighted laughter. Well, someone crowed. Looks like the Jiangs will soon have a wedding. Jiang mother's face turned purple. She swung toward me, screaming. This was your doing. You ruined my son. I raised an eyebrow, voice smooth as silk. Madam Jiang, one should not make wild accusations without proof. What could I have done? Bound your son hand and foot, and flung him onto Tong Ling's bed. Even if she knew the truth. What of it? She had no evidence. Only empty words. Unable to retort, she spun on Tong Ling instead. She forgot all about her crippled leg, lunged forward, and seized Tong Ling by the hair, dragging her out of the blankets. You shameless slut. You scheming little whore. You seduced my son. I'll beat you to death. Tong Ling's cries mingled with Jiang mother's shrieks, echoing off the walls. Only the constable's intervention saved her from a savage beating. All around us, the onlookers watched, their expressions bright with wicked amusement. They had seen Jiang mother suddenly hale and strong. No trace of any injury. I had no more reason to linger here. After returning home, I busied myself helping father with the butchery business. Our long-standing customers often gathered to gossip when trade was slow, and through them, I heard all the latest tales. Jiang mother still dreamed that Jiang Chung might marry into a higher family. She would never have allowed Tong Ling into the household. But this time, Tong Ling refused to back down. She wept and screamed, threatened to hang herself. The Jiang house became a den of chaos. She declared plainly that Jiang Cheng had destroyed her honor. If he did not marry her, she would take the matter to court. Terrified that a lawsuit would ruin Jiang Cheng's examination prospects, Jiang mother had no choice but to relent. In the end, Tong Ling was taken in, but only as a concubine. There was no wedding feast, no guests invited. Still, Tong Ling seemed untroubled. It was enough for her that she had entered the Jiang family at last. Honestly, the shopkeeper's wife beside me snorted. That Tong girl must be simple-minded, to be content with a concubine's place. Once Jiang Cheng takes a proper wife, she'll be little better than a servant. But I did not agree. Tong Ling was no fool. A woman willing to sacrifice her reputation for survival. Had no fear of petty gossip. She had always been ambitious. Her demure obedience had only ever been a mask. Jiang mother, seething with resentment, treated her just as before. Every burden, cooking, laundry, splitting firewood, fell upon Tong Ling's shoulders. But this time, she did not endure it meekly. Again and again, she defied Jiang mother openly. Infuriated, Jiang mother began arranging marriage meetings for Jiang Cheng, determined to install a proper wife to suppress Tong Ling. Jiang Cheng dutifully attended each introduction. Yet, curiously, even when he approved of a match, he always changed his mind the next day. No one knew what methods Tong Ling employed, only that they worked. Jiang mother was driven half-mad. She demanded that Jiang Cheng cast Tong Ling out. But Tong Ling was skilled at coaxing men. Soon, Jiang Cheng was utterly bewitched, not only refusing to help his mother, but forcing her to go out and earn money herself. Under the scorching sun, she crouched in the shade, selling a pitiful array of handmade trinkets. No one spared her a glance. Her lips cracked and bled from thirst, yet she could not bear to spend a single coin on a bowl of water. One evening, as I closed my stall to return home, Jiang mother stumbled into my path. "Gusu," she rasped, her eyes glinting. "Don't you still have feelings for Jiang Cheng?" "Now," Jiang mother hissed, her voice hoarse. "I give you this chance. Your dowry will be restored as before, so long as you drive Tong Ling away." I laughed, not out of amusement, but sheer, seething disgust. How shameless she was. To her, Jiang Cheng was a treasure beyond price. But to me, he was not even worthy to carry my shoes. "Live happily," I said coolly, "with your precious son and your beloved daughter-in-law." Her face burned scarlet with rage, her gaze venomous enough to strip flesh from bone. But glaring alone could never harm me, and I no longer cared in the slightest what she thought. Perhaps this was the final straw, the spark that ignited her desire for revenge. Soon after, rumors began to spread across town. They said I had no shame, that I had thrown myself into Jiang Cheng's bed, begging him to marry me even after losing all virtue. The tale grew in the telling. Before long, everyone believed it. When I walked down the street, people pointed behind my back, their eyes filled with scorn, as if they had seen me themselves, sprawled ape Jiang Cheng. My father, enraged beyond bearing, seized a cleaver and swore he would storm the Jiang house to demand justice. I stopped him. "Father," I said gently, "they are not worth destroying our lives over. Let them whisper behind closed doors." I was not the sort to trade barbs in secret. If I meant to curse someone, I would do it to their face. Every town had its old gossips, women whose tongues were sharper than any blade. I paid a few of the most notorious to station themselves outside the Jiang household. Whenever Jiang mother dared step out, they would appear and shower her with the vilest insults they could devise. They recited every scandal, how she had stolen my dowry, pretended to be crippled, and disgraced her ancestors, until she was hoarse with impotent rage. At first, she tried to shout them down, but they were professionals. Her protests only made them more spirited. In the end, she could not stand it. She stopped leaving the house altogether, hiding behind locked doors. Yet even at home, she found no peace. She earned no silver. Jiang Cheng began to scold her as useless, fit only to leech off others. Tong Ling took pleasure in ordering her about, fetching water, cooking, cleaning. At last, Jiang mother's pride crumbled. One market day, when the streets were busiest, she staggered beneath the old tree with a length of rope, weeping and wailing. "I won't live anymore. All of you monsters have driven me to this. If I die, I will haunt you to your graves." Jiang Cheng and Tong Ling arrived in time to drag her down. Sobbing, she collapsed onto the cobblestones, tears and snot streaking her face. Jiang Cheng, she shrieked. This house cannot hold the both of us. Either you cast her out, or I will end my life. I raised you with my own hands, and this is how you repay me. Had I known, I'd have left you to die in the womb. Her lament finally stirred some shriveled scrap of filial piety. Mother, Jiang Cheng whispered, say no more. I will send her away. Today, I will write the dismissal myself. Jiang Cheng. Tong Ling's eyes flew wide in horror. Her scream tore the air, and then, she swayed, and crumpled lifeless to the ground. The physician's diagnosis was swift. She was with child. This child arrived at the perfect moment. With an heir on the way, Jiang Cheng could not bear to abandon her. Tong Ling's position rose overnight. She became the honored mistress of the household, pampered as though made of glass. Jiang Cheng even spent what little silver they possessed to buy her fresh meat every day. One morning, Jiang mother stood before my stall, hovering uncertainly over the cuts of pork. I narrowed my eyes. If you will not buy, move along. You are driving away my customers. Her chin lifted in brittle defiance. My household lacks nothing. I only came because your meat is passable. I knew too well how empty her purse had grown. I did not bother to argue. At last, she selected a piece of belly pork and slunk away. Our butchery had thrived for years, because our meat was the freshest. Never tainted, never old. Not once had any customer fallen ill. Yet days later, someone reported that our pork was foul, that it had killed a woman outright. In the dead of night, constables stormed our house, dragging my father away. When I demanded the reason, I learned the accuser was none other than Jiang mother. She claimed that after eating our meat, Tong Ling had been poisoned and miscarried. I did not believe it. Hundreds ate from our stall, yet only she had sickened. It was slander, nothing more. At the tribunal, Jiang mother sobbed until her breath caught. My grandson gone. Your honor, punish the culprit. Make her pay with her life. Jiang Cheng glared at me, grief and rage mingled. You did this because I would not marry you. I almost laughed in his face. Did he think himself so important? Tong Ling did not appear. Still confined to her bed, I stepped forward, my voice steady. Your honor, my family's meat is clean. Many ate it. None fell ill save this household. Jiang mother cut me off, shrieking. You planned this. You poisoned only the portion sent to us. An investigation began. They found rat poison in the pork. Tong Ling, they said, was fortunate. Her nausea spared her life, though not the child. Every purchase of rat poison was recorded. The magistrate ordered the ledgers examined, but no recent sales could be traced to me. I spoke up. Your honor, might the poison be from the traps set by the authorities? There have been many, scattered through town, easy for ill intent to steal. At once, men were dispatched. Sure enough, one trap had been emptied. The trail led back, and suspicion fell on Jiang mother herself. She collapsed to her knees. I am innocent. I would never harm my own grandchild. Someone has framed me. The magistrate called for further evidence and postponed judgment. Then, Tong Ling entered. She looked frail, her skin pale as bleached linen. Your honor, she murmured. I have evidence to submit. From her sleeve, she produced a packet. I found this in Madame Zhang's chamber. And the poisoned meat. She cooked it herself. Proof undeniable. Jiang mother sagged to the floor, her face ashen. This was no longer a petty quarrel. This was murder. Yet in the end, Jiang Cheng could not see her hanged. Trembling, he begged the court for mercy. Your honor, it was a misunderstanding. The magistrate's voice was cold. The law may spare her life, but not her crime. 20 strokes of the rod. When it was done, her clothes were soaked in blood. They carried her away, limp and silent. Back home, no kindness awaited her. Jiang Cheng and Tong Ling refused her food, refused her medicine. Her wounds festered for months. No one came. I returned to my work, unmoved by their ruin. The last I heard, there was blood in the Jiang house. When Jiang mother recovered, her first act was to rise in the night and drive a kitchen knife through Tong Ling's chest. Jiang Cheng, stumbling in, tried to seize the blade, and in the struggle, slit her throat himself. Charged with matricide, he was sentenced to death. On the day of execution, snow fell thick and silent. Jiang Cheng knelt in the drifts, hair unbound, head bowed. Across the square, our eyes met. His lips quivered. Tears ran down his hollow cheeks. The blade flashed. His head struck the ground. No one claimed the corpse. They dragged it to the pauper's field and left it there to rot. I stood a long while in the snow. Life before, life now. It all felt like some long, fevered dream. It was so very cold. Father laid a hand on my shoulder. His voice warm. Come, daughter. Let's close the shop early. I'll make you pork rib soup. I smiled. Yes. Let's go home and have soup. At last, everything was different. I was alive, and I would live well, and happily, for all the rest of my days. The end.